So I always say that my maintenance clients are my proactive clients, my service clients are my reactive clients.
Welcome to the Waste No Day podcast, a podcast specifically for and about the home services industry as it relates to plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electrical. More than a podcast, Waste No Day is a credo, a determination, a mindset. It is a never-ending discipline. It is a refuse to lose pursuit. It is a wake-up call every morning to waste no day. Now here's your hosts, Brian Burton and Nate Minnick.
Welcome to another episode of the Waste No Day podcast. Your host, Brian, here. No Nate as of yet. He's not going to make the intro, but he's going to be sliding through your window Dukes of Hazzard style just in time for the interview with Coral Whale. And that brings me to our guest, Coral Whale. Freaking awesome. Returning guest and among the most popular guests, at least for the Waste No Day audience that we have had on the show. Probably talked to her about this a little bit, but multiple owners and managers have told me that Coral Whale's first episode is required listening for any new techs that join their team. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're running maintenance calls, because like me, when I was in a plumbing truck, she in an HVAC truck considers maintenance calls her bread and butter. So let's get right to the intro. Going to do things slightly differently today in this one, just because I don't have a co-host. So I'm going to just bounce everything off myself. This is going to be a blast because, who wants to hear Nate talk anyway? So on that note, I will turn to me for our quote. Great spirits have always encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds. Albert Einstein. Now, I use that quote for a reason, and it's maybe not necessarily to call all salespeople great spirits, although I actually do consider a high-level professional salesperson an above average person. I really do, and if you hear me talk about them or to them, you believe that I believe that, because I was one that really had to overcome a lot of shyness and my own insecurities and almost inability to come outside my shell to earn the right for myself to sell to people. And I know how hard it was and how much work it took and how much sacrificing there was of mostly like my ego and my fears. But it's super hard thing to do when you're not naturally gifted to it. And I don't know that many people are. It is a rare person I've come across, at least in my 11 years or so of training people, that I found people that were natural. I'm talking like 2 or 3 total. Most people have to overcome an enormous amount of social anxiety, fear, and insecurity to become a high-level professional salesperson. And the reason I use that quote in particular with the violent opposition from mediocre minds, quote unquote, Albert Einstein, is because really the biggest thing that you'll face in the trades as a salesperson, probably number one, is yourself and your own fear of becoming a social outcast, if you will, by saying things that are a little bit uncomfortable to you. But you overcome them pretty fast, like a handful of times doing it and realizing that you don't get the reaction that your soft mind is telling you that you're going to get, your fear is telling you that you're going to get. You just walk right through it like it's over. The number 2 and the biggest opposition you're going to face, because it never really goes away, is your peers. And if you're in the home services, particularly the skilled trades, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, you don't have to go real far to find that opposition from, is what it is, mediocre minds. Because you can jump in one of the Facebook groups or an Instagram group or LinkedIn or whatever, and just say that, hey, I want to become a selling tech, and watch the hate pile up. Now, for every 10, 15 negative comments, you'll get 1 or 2 people who are like, yeah, they're like gung-ho for you. They're like, oh, I was making $26 an hour and now I'm making $200,000 a year. and my entire life is better because I became a better communicator. But the overwhelming majority of what you're going to hear is hatred. And I mean, it gets pretty clear. You just hear the same stuff over and over and over. And you click on their profiles and see who you're talking to. And you're not talking to the great spirits, as Albert Einstein put it. You see pretty quickly who you're talking to. And it's mediocre people. And it really is. Because I've said this before and I'll say it again. And I have people in my own life who cannot stop hating on this way of life and that I teach this, and even family. And I'll say it again. The majority of people who are super anti-sales are cowards. It's the mindset of a coward. Especially because most of those people who really hate it have tried it and failed out of cowardice. I'm not pushing myself this hard, period. It's too much work for me. I'm scared. So you turtle up, they shell up in their shell, and then they lash out at you for being good at it. You must be a criminal. You must be a crook. You've got to be taking advantage of people. You know it's not true because you wouldn't take advantage of people. But you can also find out pretty quickly whether it's true or not by seeking out a high producer in your area, like Coral, if you happen to be in the Colorado area, and asking to do a ride along. And what you will find real fast on that ride along is in the passenger seat is an amateur. In the driver's seat of that truck and talking to the client is a professional. That person is a high-level communicator. And that person earned the high-level communicator status by pushing themselves and beating themselves into submission. I know because I've been there, and I know because I've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of very low-level communicators become high-level communicators by stretching and pushing and beating themselves into it. And I can tell you this, there has never been a human being who has escaped the clutches of mediocrity and social anxiety and become a high-level communicator who would turn the clock back and undo it. Never happened, never will happen. Nobody has ever gotten to 3-4 levels above where they're currently at in communication and said, man, I wish I could go back to being scared of my own shit. So I use that quote and I talk this talk to just say, like, I know how many people are out there who want to be great communicators and want to be renowned selling techs and get on this show and, maybe start their own show or become a leader in the industry and teach other people. But the peer pressure around you is turning you the other way. Take it from me. Take it from the guests you hear on this show. They are mediocre minds. Pay them no mind. Because I'll tell you this much. You want better things for your life, for your family, for the next generation. They're not going to help you with it. They'll be there all day to tear your dream down, but they're not digging into their wallet to help you pay your mortgage payment or your rent payment or your car note. So if this person isn't going to do that, who cares what they think? That's not your concern. Move on, move forward. And here's the other way you can know they're all full of crap. When was the last time you were with one of them watching the Super Bowl and a phenomenal commercial comes on? Like Dr. Pepper's doing a commercial. They hired Pixar to do the animation. They hired the top writers in the industry to write the lines. They hired the top actors in the industry to do the voiceover for the animated characters. They paid, I don't know, $1 million a second or whatever it is for the airtime. They put this beautiful commercial on. It cracks everybody up. You're all super entertained. And next thing you know, you're drinking a Dr. Pepper. You get sold. Maybe you don't. But when was the last time that person, that hater that's so angry at you for wanting to be a better version of yourself, just walked over, turns the TV off and go, I see what they're doing there. They try to sell me something. Those scumbags, those snake oils, those used car salesmen, they're dirt bags. They're the scum of the earth. Never happened. I've never seen it either. They have no problem being sold by everybody around them all the time. But when you go to do it and separate yourself from them, it's that lobster mentality I've heard so many people talk about, which is if you put a whole bunch of lobsters in a bucket, just a 5-gallon bucket with a little water in it, and one starts to climb out, all the other ones reach up, grab the lobster, pull them back down. Lobsters hate to see one of them win, you know? It's like maybe you're getting out of the bucket. Hey, maybe half of it is like, I'm telling you my nonsense, so you pull me out, right? And there probably is some of that. Like deep down inside, they want you to pull them up with them. But in this early stage of your career, you can't afford to. You don't have enough fortitude yet, right? You're just starting out in this journey. So best bet, cut them off. Stop messing with them. You don't need them. Any lobster that's grabbing your foot, pulling you back down the bucket's you just got to swing down with that claw and smack their hand off you, right? So pay them no mind. They don't even know what they're talking about. They have no problem being sold all the time. They just have a problem that you're doing it and you're winning and they're not. So keep doing what you're doing. Get around people that are going somewhere. And you don't have to worry about it anymore. Stay in the Waste No Day. We're gonna get a lot more sales focused, a lot more focused on putting the right people in the passenger seat of home service professionals. Hopefully, you know, if it's up to me, it's more salespeople than anything, because I just want us all to be better communicators all the time. And hang out with them, and don't hang out with the people who are steering you the other way. That brings me to my favorite part of every intro, one of our listeners giving us a review. Yeah, it's very self-serving, I know. Waster, 5 stars. Some great content for entrepreneurs like myself, trying to turn my business around. Florida electrician. Well, there you go. It's just the Florida electrician. Could be anybody. We appreciate it, Florida electrician. We're generally aim this show at the technician, but there's plenty of content on here for the manager, the owner. You know, when we have a manager or owner on, and we do from time to time, we still talk about the show before the episode starts recording, Nate and I, and say, you know, how is this episode going to benefit the technician? And in most cases, we're going to try to steer the conversation so it actually is a usable piece of advice for the technician. But in some cases, we still feel like if we do an episode that's geared toward owners and managers, and the owner and manager gets better, the whole organization gets better, right? So it's a trickle down effect in leadership, where if the leader improves, everybody improves. So appreciate that, Florida electrician. If you would be so kind as to leave us a review, we would definitely read it on the show if it's an Apple review. If you're not on Apple, you can just click that 5-star button on Spotify. And let me tell you something. With the text messages and even reading these reviews every week, I get like, yo, appreciate it, you know, a little yellow fist bump emoji. I don't know. I feel like I'm dry or canned with my appreciation, and really don't say it how I feel about it. Every single text I get, and my wife will jump on here one day and vouch for this. We have a Waste No Day production team text group. That's just me, Nate, my son Ethan, who edits our podcast right now, and my wife. And I put my wife in there because she's starting to do some things for the show. Every text that I get on any social media platform, I screenshot and send into that group. And like, some days I get a response, and some days it's just like, that's enough. So I'm shooting them all in there. So I want to say, and I do mean this, I deeply, seriously appreciate every single one of them, because nobody struggles with imposter syndrome more than Brian Burton. And most of the time I'm like, why am I, you know, right now, like, spending this time away from the family and the business and talking to nobody? Because who the heck wants to hear me, you know? I mean, I do, but who else wants to hear me? So I'm like, I read some of these reviews and I'm like, heck yeah, man, we got to keep going. But you gotta keep doing this. It's touching people. For all I know, my wife's in there just making new fake accounts on Apple and creating reviews all day. Today I'm the Florida electrician. Tomorrow I'm plumbing God, and next day I'm HVAC for life. Like, but whatever's happening, it's working. And I do want to tell you guys, I really appreciate it. One last point on the sales before we slip into the Coral Whale interview that I'm super excited about. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the Robert Kiyosaki book. Now, I apologize, I'm gonna butcher this quote because I haven't read it in a couple, but I do need to get back and read it again because it's so life changing. Robert Kiyosaki was telling a story about he was going to be interviewed by a journalist, and she said it was something like, I wrote a book, and everybody that's read it, and I myself agree that this book is so good and so impactful and so life-changing, but I cannot seem to sell copies of it. Like, I don't know how to get it out there. So how do I get the book out there? Because you, Robert Kiyosaki, is a best-selling author, right? And Robert Kiyosaki looked at her and he said, well, I'll tell you how. You should start with taking a course in sales and learn how to become a better salesperson. And she was appalled, hand on the chest. How dare you, sir? How dare you? I am a journalist and a writer. I'm not some used car salesman, right? And Robert just looks at her and he smiles and picks up a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad or whatever book. And he points to the back of it. And he points where it says New York Times. And he says, what does that say? And she says, best-selling author. He said, it's not the New York Times best writing author. And it ain't the New York Times best plumber. Right? Best garage door tech. It's not the New York Times best HVAC tech or electrician. It's the best seller. Like, you can't get your work out there if you have no salesmanship. So, okay, we're all so sensitive. Let's call it something else. Come on, bro. You stop talking about sales, bro. Let's call it something else for you guys who are super soft and need politically correct verbiage. Communication skills. Let's work on your communication skills. We all want to be better communicators, right? Whatever. I want to be a better closer. I want to be a salesman. Like, if I want to get my son to take on a couple extra chores and have the place looking better when mom gets home here in a couple hours. Look, I don't want to stand over him with the cord to his PC. Like, bro, if you don't do it, I'm taking this. I want to sell him on it. In every aspect of my life, I want to be a better salesperson. I want to close. I want to get him excited about making mom feel better when she gets home to a cleaner house than when she left. So, of course, we want to be better salespeople, better communicators, right? And with no further ado, here to talk about just that is my friend of the show, and one of the most popular guests we have ever had on this show, Coral Whale. Coral Whale started in the trades as a dispatcher, worked her way into an apprenticeship role. From an apprenticeship role, became a maintenance tech. She runs sales calls and some service calls, but her love and joy is definitely on the maintenance side. Welcome to the show, Coral.
Thank you guys for having me back. I appreciate it. Feel honored as usual.
Finally, don't call it a comeback. I'm going to call this episode The Return of the Whale.
The Return of the Whale. I like that. I do like
You're
that.
good with that? All right, cool.
The last episode we did was awesome. We got some really good responses and tons and tons and tons of downloads. So super exciting.
Oh, you have no idea. I want to say 3 different people told me that it is mandatory listening for any HVAC tech that joins their team.
Yeah, that is really cool. And you kept texting me those messages, and it just warms my little cold heart, you know? Because it's like, how cool is that? That all companies at this time of year are just jam-packed with maintenance agreements, and to be able to really capitalize on those opportunities is amazing for everybody. your personal pockets, the company's pockets, the clients, everybody is just being well taken care of. So to be able to capitalize on those opportunities just from listening to this podcast is really incredible.
Here, here. Well, before we get too deep into it here, Coral, it could be possible, unlikely, but it could be possible that somebody's tuning into this episode for the very first time and they're not familiar with you. So why don't you give us a brief tour of your history in the trades and what you're doing now?
So I will not start at the beginning because they can listen to all the other awesome podcasts that we have. I'll just go through it real quick. I started out as a CSR dispatcher and got really interested in actually joining the front line and being inside of houses with clients. And along my journey, I was offered the opportunity and I was handed a tool bag and did some trainings and went out in the field and started educating clients on indoor air quality and water treatment. And when I started excelling with that, I just realized that furnaces and ACs go with it. It's furnaces and ACs for me are just kind of a side deal, right? But the real bread and butter for me and the joy that I get from being with my clients is being inside of houses and really helping people with problems that they have with their health and what's going on with their homes and their airflow and all of that type of stuff. Selling a furnace is just kind of a bonus at that point. Right now, I actually just jumped over to the coolest little like mom and pop shop. I've never been in a smaller shop and I've never been more successful. If you think that joining a mom and pop shop is something that would hurt you, or you think that they're really slow or whatever, that's a huge myth. It couldn't be further from the truth. This month in April, I have sold well over $300,000 on maintenance calls, pretty much only. I have sold a couple of estimates that were thrown in here and there, but we are talking about a small mom and pop database and serving their clients that they have served for the last 4 to 5 years. And I have done $300,000 in performing the proper maintenance on these clients and their homes, offering them indoor air quality, water treatment, and better, efficient, more efficient equipment, I should say. And it's only going up from here. I mean, we're in April. Selling 300,000 in April on maintenance calls is unheard of. I mean, there's a couple of people out there doing it, but we're not even in summer yet. So I'm really, really excited to see what is in the future for this company. And
That's
myself.
great. Yeah, absolutely. We're excited for you too. And if you are interested in listening to the original, or should I say the origins episode of Coral, that's actually back from, it's a two-parter, January 9th, 2023 and January 16th, 2023, selling $2 million of indoor air quality with Coral Whale. So be sure to check those out.
Well, that wasn't even a year and a half ago.
No.
All right. So Coral, you said 300,000. Is that just this month?
That's just this month. And I started with them on April 3rd.
Wow. So you're tracking
April
3.5 million.
And I have every Thursday off. So I only work 4 days a week. Of course, I don't work weekends. I don't do on-call or anything like that. So, I mean, I'm making that with, steady. They definitely get minimum 2 calls on me a day. Max, I'm running 4. It's a little bit much for me just because of the time that I spend in houses and how thorough I am with these maintenance clients. But yeah, I mean, I'm running 2 to 4 calls a day. That's it. And I mean, I think that equals out to 18 days this month, 300,000. So yeah, it's just beginning for us. So super excited about it.
I'm glad you landed somewhere that suits your skill set much better than where you were before.
Yeah, and it's not to say anything bad about anybody. I've loved all of the companies for the most part that I've worked for, but it's also kind of try to find out what company is going to value you the most, put you in the right house at the right time with the right people, so that everybody can excel and succeed. I mean, it's all about getting I've preached this from the beginning to company owners, managers, departments, everything. Correct, check, correct, call, period. If you have a technician that is really good and really thorough and they need to be on maintenance calls, don't send them on duct cleaning estimate quotes. Send them on maintenance calls. If you have a technician who is amazing at troubleshooting, send him on a service call and make sure that he knows how to maybe flip the call. Correct tech, correct call will always put money in the bank account, but you capitalize on every single opportunity if you get the right person in the right house. And I say that from the very, very beginning. And I am running a ton of different kinds of calls right now, which is really cool because it gives me a little bit of flavor in my day. And I also get to hone in my skills where I'm not always the most successful. Right now, I'm getting super good at estimates, going into small businesses and quoting out rooftop units, not something I'm normally used to. But I am now selling those, and we are killing it with mini splits right now. It's the new thing out here. And winning those quotes time and time and time again and giving me that practice is just giving me another skill to add to my tool bag.
That's so good, Coral, and I'm sure you're going to excel at that even more than you already are doing. Did I hear you correctly that you started April 3rd? So you're doing $300,000 a month and you missed the first 2 days of the month?
18 days. Miss the first 2 days, work 4 days a week, don't work weekends, no on call.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Living life. Yeah. And it's great. I mean, they take care of me. I take care of them. We're really coming together as a team. We're building the team. I mean, we've already hired 4 installers since I started, obviously, right? They knew what I could do. I have worked with the owner of the company at several different locations before. So he was well aware of what I could do and my skills and stuff like that. He's been trying to get me to come over with him for a very long time. And it was just the correct time. And I said, if you can keep me busy, I will keep you busy. And so I came on April 3rd, and I think by April 7th, we were booked out by 3 weeks. And he said, we got to get installers. So we didn't hire any service, no estimators, no maintenance techs, no nothing. We hired 4 installers. We have 2 teams of installers, a duct cleaning crew now, and then an indoor air quality crew. And that all happened within 2 weeks.
I love it. Brian, we got to add that to your book. If you can keep me busy, I'll keep you busy. Coral Whale.
Yeah. Yes. Quotes. Yes.
Well, Coral, we are super excited to talk with you, and there's a lot of great success and things that we could dive into with even the things that you've mentioned already. But our focus on today's episode is really about that HVAC time of the season where it's about doing that tune-up, that maintenance call, that whatever your company calls it, the 39-point checkup. There's a dozen names for it, but it's all pretty much the same. And that's going into a home where generally the unit is functioning, at least at a base level. It's working. And certainly in the homeowner's mind, there's nothing wrong, right? And you are there to do a preventative maintenance. Sometimes it's by request, meaning the homeowner is on some type of club or some type of membership plan, and they're all in on it. The next time it's, I don't know, some companies out there, they go real low on it, $49, $39, $29 tune-ups and all that. And then you have some of those oddities that fit into the bag, I just bought the house, I want to make sure everything's okay. And, those types of situations. So let's kind of dig into it here a little bit and start off with, from your perspective, from an HVAC technician's perspective, what is the value of a maintenance? And then mirror that up against why you think most homeowners do it. Is it for the same reason, or do you and the homeowner come at it from completely different angles?
Well, I mean, I think let's tackle the first question first, the value in it. And me being a technician in the home, My maintenance clients are my most favorite clients. And I say that because if somebody is going to get a preventative maintenance on a piece of equipment they own, A, that means that they care. And B, that means that they don't want that equipment to fail. And so I always say that my maintenance clients are my proactive clients, my service clients are my reactive clients. So me being on site with somebody that is, you know, in their head, I want to know if my blower motor is on the way out. I want to know how my system is performing. I want to know why I'm not getting as much airflow as I was last year. There might be something wrong with my system because it's not as cold as quickly as it was, and so they are also paying attention to that equipment. They know that they need it serviced, and they know that if they service it, it will last a lot longer in the long haul. Now, as far as me approaching their home and them wondering who's coming into their home is two completely different things. I know what I'm there for. I know that I'm there to create a report, a thorough report, let them know what's wrong with the system, let them know what's good about the system, let them know what, will help the system run as efficiently as possible for all future use, or if it's time for an upgrade. They don't know that I'm also there to educate them on indoor air quality and water treatment. That all just comes during the conversation. But no, they do not call us and say, I want a maintenance and also please come and pitch me all of these products about, so they don't think that. That's for me. And that's the beauty about it. I am there to solve problems that they don't even know that they have until I get there. Whether that comes down to their personal homes, their air, their quality, whatever, it doesn't matter. It all just comes down to me having a conversation and giving them information about products that they didn't even know existed. So I am tackling the maintenance in a different angle, but we're there for the exact same reason.
Absolutely. And I love what you said there at the beginning, that your maintenance clients are your proactive ones, where your service clients are your reactive ones. That's so good. And it's absolutely a different mindset on things. You might line that up with the people who, hey, I get gas when I have 75 miles left in my tank, as opposed to, I get gas when my gas meter is reading -5 miles left to go, right?
Exactly.
There's two types of people in this world.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a great analogy. I'll probably use that with my clients. My maintenance clients are the ones that are getting gas when it's half empty, right? Because it's more efficient. And my service clients are the ones that are on the side of the road walking back to their car with a gas can. And that's just how it is. And if you are a technician, there's a huge stigma around maintenance calls that they're the worst, that they're the horrible. Like, nobody wants to run these calls, and my boss hates me because he gave me 5 maintenance calls today. If my boss gave me 5 maintenance calls, I know I'm walking out of there with a paycheck for sure. And so it's definitely a mindset that technicians really need to start getting through their head, especially if you want to excel and make money at any call in our industry. It's maintenance. It truly, truly, truly is. My service clients are the most difficult clients I've ever had too, because they don't want to put a dime into that broken system that they've never maintained. They are the cheapest clients. You go to a system that's fully down and broken, and that client only wants to fix it. They don't want a new system. My maintenance clients, though, I go and I let them know, hey, we're facing some overamping motors or coils caked. You got a refrigerant leak. Here are 5 different repair options and a replacement option. What would you like to do? Well, we don't want to deal with any of those 5 options. We're going to go ahead and be proactive and get this thing replaced.
I think that's such a valuable thing, especially at this time of year, Coral. As maybe in the southern part of the country, a lot of demands come in, but certainly in the meat of the country and the northern parts, Summer certainly hasn't arrived, and so it is boards full of nothing but maintenance calls. If you're fortunate enough to even have work right now, and man, what a refreshing perspective. And if you can speak directly to those technicians, and they're literally carrying that attitude right now. They're the ones saying, yeah, another tune-up, another 4 burners that I got to get done today. And they're just looking to punch that clock and wrap up at 3:30 and see how fast they can do it. Like, how do you begin to change that technician's mindset on it? Like, you mentioned how you view things, but how can they kind of get out of that struggle?
I mean, it's just a habit, right? You have to form that habit. And, what do they say? It's like it takes 30 days to form a habit, but like 90 days to break a habit or something like that. You have to have that mind power and the willingness to wake up every day and say, there's got to be something more to these maintenance calls. Like, she can't be the only one doing it. Why does she think they're so valuable? Why is she putting 30 grand a month in her bank account on maintenance calls, right? And if you wake up consistently and you get out of bed every day and you're like, look, like, if this is the only way that I can feed my family today by going and learning how to educate my clients on this one filter, I'm going to sell one filter today. And then all of a sudden it turns into, okay, I've sold one filter consistently for a week. Now I'm going to sell a duct cleaning and a filter every day. And then you just start stacking it up and up and up. And by the time you know it, almost in 80% of the maintenance calls you walk in, you're selling a filter every single call. And of course, you need your ducts cleaned. Why are we putting in this $1,000 filter if your ducts are trashed? And if your ducts are trashed, it's probably coming down to some maybe like holes or cracks or creases or crevices. And then you start selling AeroSeals. And then you don't want to do all of this ductwork and the AeroSeal and the filter with having a 90-year-old furnace. Come on now, we got to replace the furnace, So you just learn how to sell one product consistently in every single call. And all of a sudden, your job becomes fun again. You might not have sold Miss Jones the filter, but you just sold 5 filters right before that. And so you wake up every day. I set a goal for myself. I look at our board, I see the calls. My goal is usually between $10,000 and $15,000 a day on my maintenance calls. And I drive to work and I listen to podcasts and I am in a good mood. And I know that, to be honest with you, I am very good at my job. And if I hear a couple of no's today, it's not going to make or break me. Because for the first 3 years I was in the industry, I put my nose to the freaking grindstone and I learned everything I possibly could and how to talk to my clients and explain things to them and do a thorough maintenance and present my findings. So I know that I don't have to sell every call, but I will, because I take what I do seriously. But these technicians that think that maintenance calls are shit need to get that out of their head, because they truly are and can be the number one revenue generating stream in a company.
All right, and let's forget about the company for a sec, because I'm 2 years into my being in my own truck, and maybe I don't love my current team so much, but in my town, it's the only game to play. But I like what you're saying, and forget about the company. Let's talk about me and my truck. How do I on performance pay go from my current mindset, which is that if I don't get a demand call, my time is being wasted. So if I'm sent to a maintenance, let me hurry up and get through this thing, and hopefully there's a no cool or no heat on my way out of here to my next call. How do I switch from this mindset to, what's the process? Where do I start? How do I start?
You literally just have to go back and keep telling yourself that maintenance clients are proactive and service clients are reactive. Period. I don't have any other way to get that through to technicians as far as that is concerned. A no pull, unless the system is real old or something like that, I go to 9 out of 10 of my no pulls are faster replacement. 3, 4, $500, whatever you're charging. It's pointless. Pop a full refrigerator and go. And if I hear you right, Brian, we're talking about a lot of just wrench turners being on service calls. There's a lot of wrench turners in our industry that think they are, by God Almighty, the savior of everything because they went in and charged $100 service fee and got the AC up and running and left no options. They left 0 options as far as replacement, upgrade in efficiency, IAQ, anything. They left one fix estimate, and that's it. And these guys are doing no justice to anybody, mostly themselves, though. And the clients are pissed about it. People don't like that. And if we can start getting into technicians' heads, like, clients are now keen to the fact that companies are supposed to give options. You go to the car wash, you get options. You go to get an oil change, you get options. You go to the grocery store, you have 3 different options for the same shit. And so clients know, and we are programmed to pick from an options list. And if you're not creating the list, then you are losing money out of your pocket. But truly, as a technician, every day, you just need to wake up and repeat to yourself, maintenance proactive, service reactive. Maintenance money, service fix. I don't know how else to explain it. And I don't know why. I've had that mindset from almost the very beginning. And it's probably just because I was raised on maintenance calls. I wasn't a service tech. I was a maintenance tech. But merging into service, those are my favorite. If I had to put all of my stuff in a line, it would be maintenance, estimate, service. I hate service. Those clients don't spend any money with me. I would rather go.
You're already in a very small percentile of techs, but saying that estimates you would prefer over a service call has to put you in the 0.0001%.
I know, but I have a good reason for that too.
I'm a maintenance first plumber, but I'm certainly not an estimate second. That is way low on my.
Well, that's also because you don't know how to plumb, Brian.
I could sell it for somebody else, buddy.
But I have a really good reason for that. And the reason is, here's my reasoning for estimate. It's along the same lines as maintenance. My reason for liking estimates is because they are going to buy something from somebody. That's it. They are going to buy it for sure, 100%. It's just who are they going to buy it from?
Mm-hmm.
So I am there playing a chess game with those clients, with my estimate clients. They're buying a system, and I want them to buy it from me. And so I have to figure out, how do I get this client to buy it from me and not from them?
There's a piece
why it's fun.
There's a piece of brilliance that could almost be glossed over there. Is you said they're absolutely gonna buy a new system, and I hear Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross yelling at me, "Guy don't walk the lot unless he wants to buy." But there's a small piece of brilliance in that, because you didn't say the question is how much are they going to pay. The question is which system. The question is how cheap can they get it. The question was, who are they going to buy it from?
Right.
And the fact is, and you could almost remove it and say, who are they going to buy from? You could even remove from, who are they going to buy? Mm-hmm. They're going to buy a salesperson. Somebody is going to sell them on themselves, not the equipment, not the lowest price. We talked last week, we broke down a survey. I'm sure you heard it by now because the episode's been out for a week, on the top 7 most important things to a client when they make a purchase decision. And number 7 was lowest price. Number 1 was quality. And I think I don't know if we finished that part of the survey, but it was like, I want to say 67% of customers surveyed said that relationship with the salesperson was something they considered a top priority.
Yeah, and it is. It is. And you walk in but it's the same with maintenance calls, you guys. It's the same thing. The only difference between an estimate and a maintenance is the estimate called to buy something for sure. They're just having other people out to do it. The maintenance client also called for the same thing, or they're getting their service. They just don't know that they're going to buy anything yet.
So let's talk about a process. What is a process of, I've never been trained to correctly run a maintenance call so that it's an actual service to my client, B, profitable to the company, and C, profitable to myself financially, because at the end of the day, I'm lacing the boots up to go make money, right? Mm-hmm. So what's short form as you want to give, and you don't have to give away all your trade secrets, but what does a successful maintenance call look like? How to start to finish? What's the process of it?
Well, the first thing you have to have, even before you walk in the house or whatever the case may be, you have to have a good form in order to complete the proper maintenance. So you have to have the information available at your fingertips in order to document the equipment properly so that you can present your findings. So you have to set yourself up for success. So a perfect maintenance call is, of course, all the normal standard stuff in the beginning. The call out to the client, cheerful, happy, I'm on my way to do your maintenance for this season. Just wanted to let you know I'm about 20 minutes away. Can I stop and grab you a cup of coffee or something like that when I'm headed on over to you? See you in about 10 minutes, whatever the case may be, right? Hang out, don't park in the driveway, park in the street, always walk up to the house, knock on the door, you guys know the deal, always shoe covers, no matter what. Now, the client, when you walk in for a maintenance call on an AC tuner, that client is instantly going to turn around and start basically pulling you towards the condenser, no matter what. They think that their AC unit is just magically putting air into their home from the outside. Like, half my clients don't even know that the most important part of their air conditioner is sitting on top of their furnace. So I have to stop them halfway down the hall and physically, I don't start at the condenser. I'd like to start at your thermostat. Is this normally what you keep it at? I'm going to turn it on really low while I'm working on it. It will be on and off. And I would like to start at your furnace. Well, why do you want to start at my furnace? Well, Ms. Jones, the most important part of that air conditioner is actually sitting right on top of your furnace, and I would like to open it up and clean it, if that would be okay. Oh, yeah, nobody's ever done that before. Yes, that's my favorite thing to hear in the entire world. Nobody's ever been down there before. I'm like, oh, this is awesome, And then I get down there and my dang coil is just completely pookied shut and it's horrible and I can't get into it for 2 hours, but I rip into it anyways. So, I always tell my clients this is one of the things that I do, and I make it a point on every single call, and this will really help you maintenance techs out there. The one thing that I say verbatim on every call is, Ms. Jones, I would love if you would hang out with me. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's not a big deal. I am going to create a full report with pictures and videos and all of my findings. It'll take me about an hour. As soon as I'm done, I'm going to come and track you down. Okay? She's like, okay. And so either she'll shoot off or she's going to be like, you know what? I really like you. I want to learn. And they will stay there with me the entire time. And so I have the system running. The first thing I do is take it all apart. The furnace comes apart first, and then I work on the indoor coil. If I have to take off flues, sometimes those coils take me an hour or two. I'm bloody. My knuckles are bloody from the coils I opened today. I will rip into these coils, and I don't care what it takes because it's never been done before. And when that client is sitting there and watching me open up these coils and look at the blower motor and video that, and then having them also see me putting those pictures and those videos on an iPad they know that that information is now being documented somewhere. They're like, this lady has pictures of this shit in her computer somewhere. And this is going to be important here pretty soon. And so, of course, they don't say anything about it, but they know that I'm reporting that information for all of our eyes to see at a later point in time.
How much does the lazy, somewhat prima donna kind of entitled maintenance tech that has to follow you up 6 months later feel about? There's got to be some performance anxiety there, right?
Yeah, right. Well, there is a company still here in the Springs that I ran, and I sold a lot of money for that company. Well, it just so happens that my husband still works there. And so he still calls me every day. Now, I haven't worked for this company for like 3 or 4 years. And he's like, all of the technicians are so mad because they went behind you all day and my entire team sold $0 because there's nothing else, right? I did not leave any meat on the bone for not a single soul.
And then on top of that, the client's like, well, Coral usually takes 3.5 hours to do this. How can you be done in 16 minutes?
Yeah. So they know, you know what I mean? But yeah, they do not like when they have Coral days and they have to go behind me all day long. Because my husband will call me and he's like, he's on another call that you ran 3 years ago and they need nothing, so we didn't make any money. And I'm like, all right, well, whatever, So after I open up the coil and do all that, I actually don't put it back together unless they're with me. But what I do is I will immediately go up after I have done that top portion of my form. So my entire top portion of the form works from the inside outside. So once I'm completely finished up with the half of the form, then I go in and get my client and I bring them down and I show them what I did, what I cleaned, the pictures of the blower motor, and I tell them, look, I have the system ripped apart and opened. If you would like to see it, let's go. That way you can ask me any questions and you can see it for yourself. And then we will go over findings. Now, you can do it a couple of ways. This is how I do it. And I did it a very specific way for about 3 or 4 years, and then I learned that this works better for me, and I like it better this way. So I actually go over my findings with the client on the first half of the tune-up. That way, when I leave them to go and do my work on the condenser, they are left with, I'm going to have to do something about this. It actually gives them time to call their spouse, go find their spouse, call their daughter if the daughter helps them make decisions, call a neighbor over, whatever, it doesn't matter. If I tell them that refrigerant or whatever, their coil is clogged, I showed them and it's leaking, I haven't given them any prices, I have not gone over options, I have not done any of that with them. I have showed them my findings. It will give
Coral,
them...
I want to interrupt you there because it's a curious way of doing things, and I really like the differentiation. Of course, you probably get some clients who are doing exactly what I'm doing to you right now. Hey, well, hang on a second. Well, how much is that going to be? Like, what are we talking about here? What's your response when somebody is trying to like get to the presentation part in the middle of the call?
All I do is I tell them I will have all of my pricing for you at the end. I want to make sure that the quotes that I am putting together for you and my suggested items all go together properly. I haven't checked your condenser yet, so I don't want to give you a price on cleaning your indoor coil if there might be something that I can do on the outside with your condenser that could help. And they're like, oh, that sounds really promising. Like she hasn't finished yet. She was done for 2 hours. She has more work to do. Let's let her work, right? And it's really never been that big of a deal. But yeah, people do stop me and they're like, shit, what's that going to cost? And I'm like, not an arm and a leg. It'll be okay. And then I just go back to work. I just tell them it's going to be okay. All of my prices are very reasonable. We will sit down and come up with some solutions together at the end. And then I just go back to work. And they let me go back to work. And I have literally never honestly been like yelled at by a client or bothered. It's never bothered them. They like it. They like it. They like it. I show it to them. They also like to know too. I felt that the tension in the home kind of goes down a little bit if they know where I'm at in my process. Like I'm not going to do a maintenance and then just run up to the client and be like, 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes, whatever. Hey, I'm done with the first half of your maintenance. Before I button this up, I have a couple of things that I want to bring to your attention, and then I'll go work on the condenser. And then I just go on. So it's really easy to overcome. And then I go and I do all of my condenser stuff, of course. Just like opening up the coil, there's a lot of technicians that don't actually unscrew the top of the fan motor and flip it upside down. Which is weird and bizarre to me because that's where you see where the grease and the oil is leaking out. That's how you test the compressor. That's where you put your chemicals on the inside from the outside and rinse it all off and do all that stuff. So it does truly blow my vibes that technicians are still running around not flipping the top of that condenser. And again, a lot of clients haven't seen that. They're like, they usually just kick around it a little bit and mess with that little box on the side of it and then spray it down with a hose, And so again, the condenser is the perfect opportunity to build a lot of that value. And so I finish up all my work at the condenser, test the capacitors. That's where I'll do all my refrigerant readings. After I do all that, I will also bring the client out if I need to and show them. A lot of times pictures will kind of handle the condenser situation, and they're already actually inside pretty much waiting for me. So what I like to do is button up the condenser, take some really nice before and after photos, make sure that my readings for the cap are in there, my testing as far as the compressor is concerned, and my refrigerant readings. And then I go inside and I have my temp probes, and I walk around and the client is usually right there, or I make sure that they're ready for me to go over the findings. And I will walk around and put my probes in their ducts, and I will start doing my Bluetooth stuff with those temperature readings. And I always ask, what are you doing? What are you measuring now? That's really cool stuff. You have Bluetooth stuff, you're reading it on your phone. They're super interested in that all the time. And it just really gets me into having a conversation with them. And then I'm like, yep, everything is looking really good. Are you ready to sit down and go over your findings? And that is where all of the magic happens. I notice your filters are dirty, Miss Jones. How often are you changing them? Well, my husband died. I don't change them. I don't know how. I don't know where they are. Great. Now I know we can have a filter conversation here in a moment. Have you ever had a duct cleaning? No, I haven't. Do you guys do that? Yes, we do that. We just added that to our department. I know I can talk about a duct cleaning. I have all of their estimates drawn up. All of my findings ready. We go over the entire report from top to bottom, before and after picture of all of the readings. And I really don't give them the opportunity to ask any questions. I fly straight into, this is an estimate for replacing the blower motor that I just showed you. This is an estimate for replacing the blower motor and taking care of the capacitor that is below manufacturer specs on the outside. This is going to be for better filtration for you. I think it will really help your indoor coil. Is there anything weird? Yeah, so then we sit down at the table, go over all of our findings, and we go into all of the estimate stuff, and it just literally comes down to what should we do?
Uncle Joe.
Oh, the old Uncle Joe thrown in there, huh?
It is, and it that saying comes so naturally. What should we do? What are we going to do about your system? Because at that point, it's not really their system anymore. It's my system. I'm the last one that touched it. I am the one who's maintaining this system now. It's my responsibility. So what should we do as a team? Right. And none of my suggestions are bad. I mean, you could go with my cheapest one and it would be good. You could go with my most expensive and it would be majorly beneficial. What should we do here today? Because something needs to be done. Summer's here, and I do put the urgency on it too. That's another thing on maintenance calls that you need to hone in on as far as skills are concerned. You need to push urgency. Like, I have this blower motor in stock right now. I'm not in summer. I don't know when it's going to be back. We're in a major refrigerant phase out right now. In this county, I'm not required to get you into a high efficiency system, but it is coming down our pipeline and it is happening per county. I could grandfather you into an 80% efficient system if you would like, and then you don't have to pay $12,000 for a high efficient furnace in the future. You'll be grandfathered into a system that's been working perfectly in your home, just brand new. That works very well also. If it's an R22 system, hey, I mean, we don't really even have the refrigerant to put back in this thing right now. The phase out is here. It is happening. And a lot of companies aren't even touching R22 systems right now.
Right.
Let's get you into something more reliable with something that we can always repair for you, by upgrading the system and getting you into something that we can better maintain in the future. While it's still cheap, you're going to pay twice as much for this same exact system, as far as I'm concerned, in 2 years, as opposed to just doing it right now when you actually need it, So there's a lot of things on maintenance calls where you can build the urgency. The value is incredibly easy to build with clients. The conversations that you have with proactive clients is a lot better than trying to talk somebody into buying a whole new system because theirs is broken because they don't want to maintenance it. There's a lot of variables that make maintenance calls super desirable.
Absolutely, man. And you just whew, that was a lot to digest. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the last 10 minutes to hear all those
It is a lot. I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
No, it was great. And that's so good. A couple things that stood out to me is obviously the one where you're doing a partial presentation mid-call. I think that's really unique and very cool, and obviously that's having a lot of good success for you. You brought in some cool gadgetry with the Bluetooth stuff, which is conversational. Obviously it doesn't really mean anything to the homeowner because most people aren't familiar with superheat, subcool, and all these different readings and whatnot. But it's a cool factor, right? And I think there's at least some conversational stuff there. And you've set this up in such a way that it makes it seem like every call you go to must be this layup of all these people who are just like, Cora, I have this $20,000 and I don't know what to do with it. Can you help me spend it, Cora? Right. And we know that's not the case. And yet you're so fluid and so easygoing with it. It makes it feel that way. So let's press in on what, all the techs listening to this are like, well, this is bullcrap. She probably gets all the lay down, the boss's cousin and stuff like that. She's probably getting all these rich people.
I've been the angry tech in second, perpetual second place for months and even to years back at Yes, when I was chasing Mike Bissell, who just beat me down for the longest time. And I thought that until I did a ride along with him. Right. And you as a technician and our audience have Coral in your passenger seat right now. And you just did a ride along with her and that's not the case for most of the people listening. She's just freaking better than you. I mean, it's just an absolute fact. The professionalism, the confidence she exudes, the attention to detail that you just heard. And we're going to assume by her numbers that she's telling the truth. This is what she does on every call. If you're doing this on every call and you're presenting with this level of confidence and authority, you just listened to an orthopedic surgeon tell you about your ankle. You didn't listen to some half-trained, nervous technician who doesn't know how to talk to people.
A WebMD expert.
Right.
You just heard a straight up professional talking speaking from a position of absolute authority. And if you're a homeowner and you just got this presentation and you got the recommendations she just gave you, if you can afford it, you're doing it. It just is what it is. That's how
and I do carry myself in a home also, very strongly. And I can tell that the homeowners, a lot of times, they don't have tradesmen in the house truly with that type of confidence. Um, and you can tell that the second I say something, they're holding on to what I'm saying. And they're like, she has done this before. Like, this is not her first day. This is not her first rodeo. I used to kind of be a little bit timid when I first started, and can I come into your house? Can I put on my shoe covers? There's like a lot of training out there right now where it's like, you need to start getting yeses from the second you walk up to the door. So you knock on the door and you ask if you come in, and then they say yes. And then you ask if you can put on your shoe covers, and then they say yes. And you're getting them in this yes, yes, yes. So that when you go to present, they say yes. You don't have to play all those games. Yeah, like that is also a strategy, right? And it's all about playing mental gymnastics with these people sometimes. But at the same time, you don't have to do that. You can walk into the home with enough authority for them to say, she's serious. Like, she told me that my blower motor was leaking grease and oil, and then she showed it to me, and she told me what it's affecting in my home and how I can fix that issue. I would be an idiot not to buy it. Like, at that point, what person is going to say, you know what, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And everything that you just did, and I think today is the first day that you have ever been inside of anybody's home as a maintenance technician, and I'm not going to buy it from you, and I'm going to call and get a quote from somebody else. You're not going to do that. If you present it with enough authority and you have your thorough, fully done report and you've built that value, there should be no reason in the world a client shouldn't buy at least your bare minimum estimate for sure. I don't even ask if I can go check vents in rooms anymore. I'm just like, hey, John, I'm going into this bedroom over here. Is that okay? Yeah, Coral, just do whatever you need to do. I just walk around the home and open things and open drawers, and I get comfortable enough with some of my clients where I will literally just like open their fridge, grab a soda, sit down, and start presenting options. They look at me like I am batshit crazy, and I am. And it takes a lot of balls to be able to do that, but I do it, like there are just really fun clients where you can just literally like, hey, make me a sandwich, like I'm hungry, you know what I mean? Like, feed me some food and we can go over these options, and clients do it, Half the time, I don't even talk to the clients about their maintenance calls or their furnaces. We're talking about their chickens and their homestead and their grandkids and this and that. Like, half of a maintenance call isn't even talking about the damn equipment. It's making a relationship with a client that you want to keep for a long time. It's not fake either. I don't build these relationships with my clients just to see them once. Like, I want these people to call me back every freaking year. And I want them to know that I'm not an electrician, but that they can call me to get a referral, because I know everything and I know everybody and I know what I'm doing and I have what you need. And if I don't have it, I'll find it. Like, I'll find a way to help you, but it's that passion that I have of helping these people where I can sell $300,000, $400,000 a month, because they trust me and they will call me, with any issue, damn well knowing that I don't know how to solve it, but I do know somebody who can absolutely help. And if I am vouching for that person, then they will trust that person. And that's the relationship you want to build all the time,
Yeah, I've heard it said that the majority of public speaking is strictly the confidence to get on stage and present in confidence. And so, I mean, unfortunately, you can have a confident idiot who, says a lot of stupid stuff, but they do it so confidently that people are like, yeah, that was really amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's who you are, but like, it's just to point out the fact that that's what I said. Yeah. It's to point out the fact that like confidence will take you so far in this world, whether it's in the
It
home,
truly
on
does.
stage, with your spouse, with your kids, in the checkout lane at the grocery store. It gets you so far. And to the degree we're talking about with such significance, that I want to harken back to your second year in a truck when you weren't so confident, because we have greenhorns listening to these episodes and they just heard some of the stuff you said, and like they had to pull over and push their jaw back up because they can't even fathom half the things you just mentioned doing. Like, what are you talking about? You just get a soda out of their fridge. Like, I wouldn't do that at my mom's house, and they're just like, I don't understand anything that you're saying. Go back to a time in your life, in your career, where you weren't quite so confident, and speak to that listener who is in that place right now, and give them some encouragement or some advice or something that they can hang their hat upon to build this confidence level so they can present like the infamous Coral Whale.
So I'll actually tell you a real live true story, you guys. So this truly happened, and it was probably my second or third week out in a truck by myself. And I had never sold indoor air quality. I didn't even really know what IAQ stood for at this point in time. Like, I hadn't even gone to any trainings at this point. And so what I was working on was I was learning what everything was called. Like, I'll be honest with you, when I first got into a truck, I had no idea about anything. Like, I didn't know what a coil was. I didn't know how to read data plates. I didn't know a single manufacturer. I was the person that had no idea an air conditioner sat on top of the furnace. Like, I I had no idea what an air handler was. I had no idea. I need you guys to know that. Like, I did not know this stuff. I didn't know what an inducer motor was. I didn't know how to clear a drain line. I didn't even know an AC had a freaking drain line. Like, I was that new. And so my boss at that time, he was like, "Okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go and you're gonna fill out this report and you're gonna sell blower motor pull-in cleans." And I'm like, "Oh, what? Pull-in what? Okay, on a squirrel cage, like the thing that hamster runs around?" And he's like, "Yeah, that." And I'm like, "All right, cool." And so I started, like, I was so nervous. Like, I didn't know how to deal with dogs. Like, I tripped in the first house I ever walked into. I literally like fell into my shoe covers. And like, I had my iPad here and I was carrying this bag on my shoulder and I was like sideways because my bag was full of these tools that I didn't even know how to use or like the names of them or anything. It was crazy. And so
I thought you thought I put him in a truck early, Nate.
yeah, like, I'm like by myself, like driving. I had no idea. I didn't have any clue what the hell I was doing. There was no way I should have been in this house. And so I don't know how it happened, but I ended up selling a blower motor pull-in clean. It was like on like my fifth call in my life. And I was so nervous. I think he just bought it from me out of pure
sympathy,
sadness for me. Yeah, it was like a sympathy pity buy. It was
sale.
like, this girl has no clue what she's doing, and she just offered me a blower motor pulling clean for $150. So I proceed to pull this blower motor out and clean it, and I couldn't get it back in. I could not. Like, I popped out the motor somehow, and I lost the set screw. I do remember that. The set screw dropped on the ground and flew under the furnace. So I was like, okay, well, that's gone. But it's not important, right? It's just a set screw. There's thousands of them everywhere, probably laying around my truck, right? There's not. There's definitely not just set screws laying around everywhere. So I couldn't get this motor back in. Once I finally got the motor back on and then I finally put it up there, it was too heavy for me to like lift up the motor and then put it in the slots and then drill it up all by myself. I'd never done it before. So I started looking around this guy's basement for like anything that I can prop the motor up on, like pool noodles or whatever. Now, mind you, I've been down there for like 7 hours pulling and cleaning this blower motor. I have gone outside probably 7 times and called my boss in full blown out tears. like sitting in my truck, like, I hate you. I hate you. I don't want to do this. Come out here. And he said, no, like, take a deep breath, go to the gas station, drive around for a minute, and I was like, I'm going to go take a shot. Because at that time I was like super big drinker, right? Like in the depth of my addiction. And so I was like, I know what the problem is. I need some whiskey. And I didn't do that. I didn't leave the house. Like I got it together and it took me like 2 more hours there. I had been there for like 9.5 hours installing this stupid blower motor. And by the time I got it back in, the client was like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know if it's right. And I left and I collected his money. And of course I forgot to turn on the switch to the furnace. Right. So he calls the office back and he's like, she just left, my furnace isn't working. And I'm like, I'm quitting. Like, I'm totally quitting. I'm done in the field. This is not for me. I don't want to do this. And I showed up to the office the next day and we pulled and cleaned a blower motor that was at the shop. And I was told and taught how to actually do it and some tricks to be able to like get it back up on the rack. And so truly, that's how truly green I was. And, I practiced. Like I went to my mom's house and I pulled and cleaned her blower motor. And then I went to my sister's house and I pulled and cleaned her blower motor. And then before you knew it, like I was pulling and cleaning blower motors in like 30 minutes. And so, I was like, wait a minute, like this is really hard to do. Like I'm not charging $150 for this shit anymore. Like it's time to charge $1,000 for this. So then people started buying it for $1,000 and they were like, what are you doing selling blower motor pull and cleans for $1,000? And I'm like, that's what my time is worth, right? Like I just spent all this time doing it and learning how to do it and nobody else can do it. Like the client can't do it because he would be there for like 9.5 hours crying because he broke his furnace, probably like I was. So I realized it was like $1,000 job. Well, once my boss realized that like I was just selling blower motors, he should hire somebody just to follow behind me and pull and clean the blower motors themselves. And then I'll just sell blower motors on every call I go to. And that's just how it started, but that's how green I was. And so like talking to, everybody out there that's listening, that's like just fresh and just getting in a truck and like, they don't really know like how to do it. Like the one thing that will make you so confident is going to be to have a plan. Like you have to have a plan of attack all the time. And if you can in the beginning, just like be as robotic as possible, except for with your words. Like, I don't know how to say that, but like do the same thing every time. Like pull up to a house the exact same way, jump out of the truck the exact same way, put on your shoe covers the exact same way, go to the thermostat, go down to the system, pull up your report, say what you're going to say to the client. Don't make friends. Don't talk to them about anything. Go to work. Give your options. Like making friends with clients will come later. Like that's not what you're supposed to do right now. If you're green, like go to work. Like you're not allowed to make friends with clients right now because you don't know how to take care of them correctly. Right. And you can't possibly, if you don't know how to do the maintenance in your sleep, then you're not allowed to talk to a client about their chickens until the maintenance is completely done, right? Because you'll get distracted. So that's like my biggest thing too, is on previous podcasts that I have done before, I was always like, I am not friends with my client until they sign a check. I'm just not. That's not the kind of tech I was. But then like about a year ago, I really started evolving and like I got away from that because I didn't have to be rigid anymore. Like I realized that like, okay, I'm going to try this a different way now because I am so confident in my ability to talk to people and explain how motors work and explain what we're going to do and all that stuff. I'm confident in that. So I turned, my attitude around too. And I was like, I don't have to be so rigid when I walk into a house. And so I have to get to work and this is what I have to do and take me to your condenser and take me to your coil and this is how we're doing it. Like I could have really cool conversations in between and ask about grandkids and ask about air and, how they feel in their house and like all this stuff, So I'm also always evolving still to this day. Like I learn something new every day. And I go into houses and sometimes I'm like, I leave the house and I'm like, that sounded so stupid. Like I'm never going to say that again. That was the dumbest thing. I should never have said that to that client, but I learn from it. But I have to try it. Like I'll be driving to a house and I'm like, I'm gonna try that. That's like a really cool like strategy. I'm gonna see how that works on this client. And when it doesn't work, I'm like, cool. I'm not gonna do that again. I guess I learned from that one. It's just a learning process, day in and day out. But for the new technicians and the really green people out there, just follow the process and just be rigid. Like you're there to do a job as a professional. Just get it done. Don't make friends and don't have side conversations and don't do this and don't do that. Do your job, present your options, and ask them what they want to do, and you'll make sales.
I love the authenticity. Yeah. I love the authenticity, Coral. You're just like, you're so genuine. You're so open about the fact that like you're evolving. I know you've made personal choices for the betterment of yourself, recently and over the years. You're making personal choices.
Coming on the Waste No Day podcast again?
Of course, that's what I meant. Yes,
you're absolutely right.
And it's just so good, it's so awesome to hear and refreshing to hear somebody who is willing to admit that they're open to figuring it out better than they have in the past. And you're speaking from a place of confidence, but also of humble confidence. And I applaud you for that because that's a unique thing in today's world.
I do appreciate that. I know 100% you guys, like I am not the best troubleshooter, but one of the skills I do have is communication. And, I still, to this very day, I will never give a client a diagnostic that I don't feel comfortable with. That's not fair. That is 100% doing a disservice to that client. And if they give me money for a diagnosis that I'm wrong about, that's totally not cool in every aspect of what we do as HVAC technicians or plumbers or electricians. I will 100%, hey, I believe that this is what is going wrong with your system. I think it's a motherboard. These were my troubleshooting steps. I actually have a form for that lists out some of my troubleshooting steps. It really does help with the whole, I'm going to get a second opinion type of rebuttal, because if I list out a couple of brief troubleshooting steps and they know that I did my job and they don't need to call somebody else, right? So, but I will tell them straight up right in front of them, this is what I think is wrong, but I would like to get a second opinion. I'm going to make a phone call real quick. Boom. I pick up my phone right in front of him. I don't care who's on the other end of that phone. I throw it on speaker. Hey man, I'm over here with Miss Jones right now. You took care of her last year. Her system is short cycling. I blew out the tubes to the pressure switches and I jumped it at the motherboard, and this is what's going on. I believe that we have a bad motherboard. Would you agree? Hey, Coral, I want you to go to the thermostat and do this real quick, and then I want you to go back downstairs to the furnace and check this wire. Cool. We'll do some brief troubleshooting over the phone. I will get a second confirmation as far as my diagnostic steps are concerned, so that when I go to present those options, that client just heard me make a second phone call out and confirm my proper diagnosis. They have no reason to pick up the phone and call another company at that point. But I know that I'm also not going to be that technician that is going to just run around and misdiagnose things to make a stupid sale. Like I don't need to do that. And a lot of people do, accuse me of doing that. Sometimes, not a lot, but I do have the haters. Of course, we all have haters that do accuse me of doing that. But I don't care what they say. Like I will call 10 people to get a proper diagnosis if I have to, and I don't care who it's in front of. And if it makes me look bad, I don't think it does. I think it makes me look genuine and honest in a home trying to get a proper solution for a client that they deserve and that they paid for, And so when you are a maintenance technician out there doing something, like pick up the phone and call somebody and ask for a second opinion. If you're new to service, don't tell somebody that they're low on refrigerant if you don't know how to read your gauges. Send a picture of your gauges to somebody who does know, and get that second opinion. But don't walk into this field and think that you need to know everything immediately, because you don't and you won't. But you do need to make sure that you are being honest and that you are doing your job with integrity, because these people are about to give you a lot of money and that's what they deserve.
Hear, hear.
Amen. Amen, Coral. I love the passion. I love, as always, well, not even just on the show, but anytime I talk to you, the vulnerability. I think that goes a long way in how your customers react to you and become friends of yours. Like, seems like every time we talk on the phone, you're telling me about a client you just left who's like your bestie and you're going out for drinks with them and your husband later.
Yeah.
Almost every time we talk. Before we wrap, I did want to say we're changing the name to Blower Motor, because it's the most I've heard it in 1 hour, and it happened to be Nate's nickname in college.
Blower Motor.
Nate.
That's
Blower
awesome.
Motor. Lil Chirp Minnick.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, I can't count how many times that was my name. Yeah, I can't count.
It's awesome.
It's a true mystery.
Well, now every time I say Blower Motor, I'll be thinking of Nate.
Take a little chirp. Yeah. By all means, text him text him a picture of a blower motor every time you think about it. He would love it.
I'm going to find the dirtiest blower motor I have and save it on my phone and just send it to Nate.
Now his nickname is Dirty Blower Motor.
Dirty blower motor. Leaking grease and oil.
Oh my God. Okay. Hey, Coral, this has been fantastic, and I'm sure it's really sparked not only the disturbed imagination of some individuals as well as the curiosity of others. If people are interested in learning more about you, or just want to hit you up for some advice or learn how you got to be so confident, how can they find you?
Everybody really, I'm very open on Facebook. I do respond to all of the messages I get there. I know that people want to reach out about the podcasts and things like that. Please do. Like, I'm super friendly. I will help you in any way I can. Just know that I will eventually get back to your message, as I am always with clients. You can email me as well, coralwhale36@gmail.com. I do have a web page out there. I will be honest, I am not taking on any new clients right now. I am pretty full between what I do for my current company and my private company, but it is landlockedwhale.com.
Of course it is.
Yes, landlockedwhale.com. So you guys can find me there. But yes, I usually respond very, very well to Facebook messages. So, I know that we didn't get into the deep, deep depths of rebuttals and maintenance and stuff, and I'm sure we'll have another episode soon about it. But if I could get through to anybody on this right now, it's just that I truly believe that if you can hone in on maintenance calls, you truly will make so much money and you will enjoy your life so much more, because that is a majority of our calls. And if you don't like maintenance calls, then the harsh reality is maybe being a residential technician might not be for you. If you hate your calls every day and it's going to make you miserable and you're not making any money, if you can't find a way to change your mindset, then maybe you need to find a way to change your career, because it's probably not working out for you in the long run.
Oh, boom. All right. Throwdown. Here we go. Well,
Cool.
I think you've done good stuff today, Coral. You've certainly inspired me, and I believe countless listeners, at least dozens and dozens. And so
dozens
of listeners
to the Waste No Day.
It's been so good to have you on again, to catch up with you. Thanks for bringing the passion. We have a lot of guests on here, and there's a lot of different topics and variety of things. But one thing's very clear with you is that when you speak, you're speaking out of just straight love for the trades, love for what you do, care for people, and making it a memorable experience for everybody that you serve. That is without a doubt a great takeaway and a great place to leave this episode on. Coral, thanks so much for being on the show. We'd love to have you back again sometime, and I'm sure my secretary, Brian, will take care of scheduling that later on. But for now, we wish you a fantastic summer.
I appreciate you guys. We will talk soon, and it's always an honor.
Thank you, Coral. This is
Brian
Burton and Blower Motor Minnick signing off.
Blower motor, dirty blower motor.
Well, hey, that's a wrap for this podcast. We hope that you enjoyed your time with Coral Whale. Always great to have her on. And this time talking about just a lot of inspiring things and a perspective change, perhaps, for some of you regarding how you view a maintenance call. Even if you're not an HVAC technician, I think there's plenty of takeaways in terms of how you view what you do on a daily basis. Are you in it for the right reasons? Are you doing the right things? Are you going to the client and presenting with passion about the things that matter most to them, that will actually take care of them? If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit Coral up. She'd sure love to hear it. We would too. Leave us a review. Send us some love in the Facebook realm, something like that, or share this episode with some friends, and I'm sure they would appreciate it as well. And make sure that you go back and listen to Coral's episodes back from January of 2023. Those were some killer episodes that you would love to hear. As for now, we're going to leave you with our weekly challenge, which continues to be the same: to choose to wake up each and every day and waste no day.